Hi.
My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Naisha McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
All right, my friends, once again, it's time to get our talk on. It's Morning Talk with me, your host, J.C. McCauley, along with the champions of talk. And, of course, it is Friday, so we have this morning's talk champion in Studio 1A, and that would be none other than the one and only Cleo Duke-Wright. Good morning, Miss Cleo. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I am doing fabulous. I'm doing absolutely fabulous. How was your weekend?
Well, it's not here yet. Last weekend.
Oh, what am I talking about? How was your weekend? I'll be all right.
Last
I'll be
weekend
all right. You know, I was saying to myself, you know, now wake up, Stan. Wake up.
Wake up.
Yeah, I thought I was awake yesterday week. How was your week?
My week was extremely busy, and so I was sorry that I missed you at the Jazz Festival. I still have not been one, but I'm hoping that you had a great time there.
It was fabulous.
You were in the African American Alliance. A lot of people showed up.
Well, a whole lot of people didn't show up, but the ones that did, we had fun.
Oh, that's good, because I had said that morning, I said, I hope everybody's going to be at the Jazz Festival. I hope I'm going to be there. You know, I had a little suspicion that I might be held up, but I was trying to get there, and I wanted everybody to get there and have a wonderful time. My week was just running, and I just had a little time for myself to just to do the favorite things that I love to do, and stories and studying about them, and just the things that I like to do. I had just a little time, because, you know, sometimes you just got to tell everybody to get lost. I'm sorry. You're just going to have to deal with whatever you have to deal with. No, I'm not taking you outside. No, I'm not doing this. And you better leave me alone before I get mad. And had a little time there. So it was good. It was good. It was a good week.
Well, that's good. That's good. It was a interesting week this week. Today? I was hearing that. Listen to me. I'm about to ask, what's today? Of course, today's Friday.
Today is Friday. I'm sitting here. Today is Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday. Yeah, it was a good week. It was busy though. It was very, very, very busy this week.
I got a telephone call from a person yesterday. Name starting with S-H-E-R. And I won't spell the rest of that. But, you know, in the evening, and, you know, I was trying to do some studying and some reading, and all of a sudden she says, is Trump going to jail? Is Trump in jail? Because what's his first man that was out in New York? Giovanni something.
Is it the mayor?
Who used to be mayor of New York?
Giuliani.
He's in prison for 30 years. I said, I haven't heard about any trial. I haven't heard about anything.
30? Who? Giuliani's in prison?
Well, you know, he said that. I said, you know, I haven't heard about any in Trump for 10 years. I said, I haven't heard about it. Now that, I don't listen to the news a whole lot, but I'd have heard about that.
I think you absolutely would have heard about that. No, I don't think that.
I had to hang up after a little bit of the conversation, but that was just something out of the blue. Just boom. I'm saying, what are you talking about?
Wow. No, I don't think that President Trump is going to go to jail.
No,
that's just not going to happen.
I don't think they're going to put a president in jail.
Mm-mm.
I don't care how terrible or how good he's. A president of the United States is not going to jail. I don't know what they'll do, but I don't think that he would go to jail.
No, I think folk ought to just be honest about it. All the machinations and all of the head games that people play and go through. You know, I can dig not liking somebody. You know, just don't like the person. People should just simply say they don't like the president. They think he's a misogynist pig, and they don't like the fact that he represents them as president of the United States, and move on. I mean, you know, it's just to call it for what it is and move on.
Yeah, I don't. I was just I just kept saying, "What are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about?" And maybe a lot of people think that is that in the news?
Well, you know, this this hearing that they're having, they're calling it a show trial. Was really a hearing, and so they're having hearings, congressional hearings, to try and uncover, I guess, the role that the president of the United States played. And it would appear that the angst is that he didn't move fast enough to stop the insurrection. And I have said from January the 7th that it wasn't an insurrection, that it was a riot. And of course that is exactly what they're calling it. It was a riot. Insurrections don't end in 4 hours. They just don't. People can call it whatever they want. The main
lasts a lot longer than that, right?
Well, they usually last in things like the United States becoming a nation.
Wow. Like the Fourth and Tea Party?
Yeah, you know, I mean, that's an insurrection. You know,
Yeah.
where you take over, or like in Sri Lanka, where you know, or the countries around the world where they actually have real insurrections.
And there's a difference at the insurrection. If it's an insurrection, then at the end of it, there is a change.
There's a change
and a different. Okay.
Right. Now you could say an attempted, you know, like a coup is different from an attempted coup. A coup means you were successful. A military coup. The military took over the government. That would be a coup. An attempted coup would be, you know, Colonel so-and-so was arrested for trying to incite officers to take over the government, but he failed. That's an attempted coup. Now, maybe an attempted insurrection? That's kind of pushing it. But see, you can't have an attempted insurrection because one of the things in the Constitution says that that a president cannot be guilty of insurrection. So if an insurrection could be proven by the president, then he would be ineligible to run again. That's really
the point.
The point, in my never to be humble opinion, that's really the point. If folk don't want President Trump to be reelected, then they need to get their behinds up out their chairs and go out and start voting and rally and put forth substantive arguments and policies and whatever that'll convince a majority of the people not to vote for him. Now, all this angst, which is just, to me, it's hysteria. It's just hysteria. It's like being afraid of the dark.
Yeah, hysteria that is being pushed to continue.
Absolutely. Because now, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Joe Biden president?
Yes, he is. Oh, not Trump.
So if Biden's president, now Trump was president, right?
Right.
Well, how did he get out of office?
You got voted out.
We
got voted out.
That's
we
right.
Voted him.
They
out.
voted him out of office.
So what does that say?
So, you know, if he was voted out of office, what are people so afraid about him moving, you know, getting back in? Are people trying to say that he is so popular that he will get more votes than last time and more votes than President Biden and get back in office? So what does that say? What does that say if he gets reelected?
If people surmise that Biden did a worse job than Trump. And Trump is trying to get in. And Trump made some changes that were positive, I don't know, to a lot of Americans. He could get back in.
He could get back in for another term. After that, he's done, because you can only serve 2 terms.
Unless he tries to change the Constitution.
Unless there's a constitutional challenge that ends up in a change. But I think the that would be very, very difficult.
Yes.
And there's a lot of hysterias. It's just hysteria. It's like being afraid of flying. And do people have just cause to be afraid of flying? Yeah, because planes do crash. But it's the safest way to travel. So there's really no reason to be afraid to get on a plane. But people are. So they don't fly. They take a car or a bus or a train everywhere. Now, the train is far more dangerous than a plane. But it's on the ground. So you have to worry about it falling out of the air because it's already on the ground. So, I understand that some people may be afraid. But the hysteria, the mass hysteria, it's ridiculous. And the reason I say it's ridiculous because for people to allow such a thing to adjust their daily lives and conversation is just such a
people are making money off of this, and so it's going to continue because my station versus your station versus this versus that.
Mm-hmm.
And if the people that more interested in what's happening to Trump, then I get the higher ratings. I mean, I don't think it's I don't think for the professionals,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's all of that.
Well, for the professional, they're just exploiting the opportunity.
I just think it's just happening. That's just what's happening, and they can make it happen.
Well, between the reckless media and the feckless individuals doing this hearing for political theater, we have what we have. And so a guy that gets on an escalator has been in the news cycle every single day since his announcement. If you were...
That's right. His name is somewhere every day.
Every day his name is in the news. And, if you were being paid to keep your client name at the top of the news cycle for 6 years every day, it would be a ridiculous, impossible task and request. Yet here we are every day he's in the news, and the old adage still rings true. It doesn't stop being true because you don't like the person. But whether it's good news or bad news, as long as you're in the news, you're relevant.
We had a minister that left. We had a big racial blow up in the 60s. I was going to an interracial church. And so that minister left.
Mm-hmm.
Another minister came. We were still talking about that minister. Then that minister left. And another minister came, and we were still talking about that minister, and so on. So there were 2 ministers that came after him, and the only thing that the church could talk about was him. And he was gone for 3 years, and we were still talking about him. And the minister, the third minister, said, "You would think that he just left, and I'm replacing him, and I'm 2 ministers away from him."
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't stop until the people left. The people of the church.
Those
people, the baseline people, they eventually left. Their children left, and so the talk was no more. But the church totally changed. Now it is a we had one West Indian family that was there.
Mm-hmm.
There was only one, maybe two. And now it's mostly West Indian and no Caucasians. I haven't been there in years. All the kids that left and were disappointed in their parents because what they taught them and what they did were two different things. And so the young people left. And so the whole changed. The whole thing changed. So maybe somehow that this Trump thing, maybe something really major is going to change eventually.
I think until we have a very serious conversation about race in this country, that won't change, because the underlying, the under the surface stuff is around race. And Trump has become the poster child for, you know.
You think underneath all of this is race? Well, yeah.
Oh man, I was wondering where that sound is coming from. I know what it is now. Okay, open channel there. Say that one more time.
You think all of this Trump and all this talk about Trump and his followers underneath it all is race?
I think the people who, there's several different types of people who back Trump. We have a mutual friend who refers to himself as Black Trump.
Oh, yes.
Right, so.
Okay.
And he is as about pro-black as you ever gonna get.
Yes.
We have another mutual friend that thinks Trump is not a bad guy.
Yes.
I have a friend of mine who's a businessman who loves Trump. He doesn't, let me rephrase that. He doesn't love Trump. He loves Trump's policies. So the policies, the economic and business policies that Trump puts forth, he likes. But in terms of Trump himself, it's a non-issue. He's just another human being in a position. Then there are people who like Trump because of what they believe Trump stands for in terms of making America great again, in terms of America being made, quote unquote, white again. Because there are those who equate greatness with whiteness, and that the white great is a dog whistle for white.
It's never been a white country. I mean, they were in control, but it's always been a mixed country, right? With lots of different.
The country's always been multiple kinds of human beings here. First and foremost, indigenous people. But I'd say that the country has been, well, we'll leave that out. But I mean, but that's how a lot of people see it, and are deeply concerned that we will go back in time to Leave It to Beaver, where in a negative way, not in a positive way. So we'll see. But we'll take a short break, and then we will return. You're watching Morning Talk. Stick and stay. Just getting underway. If you have comments, questions, or something you'd like to express, you could do so in the comment section on Facebook, in the comment section on YouTube, in the comment section on Twitter, in the comment section on LinkedIn, or you could give us a call if you know the phone number and get involved with the conversation. This morning talk, stick and stay, don't go anywhere. We will be right back.
Thinkers are Puerto Rican, Mexican, Peruvian, Indian, Bosnian, Italian, Irish, Jamaican, African American, European, straight, gay, Nigerian, transgender, Christian, Jewish, Muslim, short, tall, skinny, rich, poor, happy, sad. Some of us hold a PhD and others a GED. And though we may be Democrats, Republicans, or members of the Working Families Party, we all have escaped the plantation of party politics and become independent thinkers because we as individuals are more than a party. You see, independent thinkers come from all walks of life. And the one thing we all have in common is that we love, live, laugh, and learn in the city of Hartford. We are the constituents, and the government of Hartford belongs to us. My name is J. Stan McCauley. I'm an independent thinker, and I approve this message because it's time to stop towing the party line and vote for a candidate you can trust. You too can escape the plantation of party politics if you have the courage to free your political mind.
Hi, my name is Marisha Garcia. I'm from Brazil. I help HPU. I help families de Universidade de Harvard Community. Estou muito feliz em participar. É muito importante o engajamento deles padres e madres nas escolas de Hartford com seus ninhos, my children. I love helping family e HPU. Thank you. Gracias. Obrigado.
Okay, my friends, want to remind you that the Taste of the Caribbean and Jerk Festival is coming up. 17th annual. It'll be happening down at the Mortenson Riverfront Plaza, Saturday, August the 6th. August 6th, 2022. The event is, of course, free. So come on down, have a great time, 11 a.m. until 9 o'clock p.m. Great music, great tastes, supported by all kinds of people, as you can see on your screen. So go on down and enjoy yourself. I'll be down there. We'll be doing some interviews with people, myself, of course. Jesse from the Chat It Up show will be down there. And should be lots of fun. So absolutely, positively, take advantage of it. All right. It's Morning Talk. Let's continue. So, yeah, I think this whole thing is just, it's just ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous. I know a lot of people take this stuff very, very, very seriously, but you know, my thing is this: if folk took this whole stuff, as we talk about Trump, if they were as focused on their local, municipal,
yes,
or town elections, their board of education, things that, you know, all politics is local. But it's like weather forecasters that give you the weather in a part of the country that they're not in. You know, here we are in Hartford, and they're giving you the weather forecast for Honolulu. It doesn't matter because you don't live in Honolulu, but they can't get the weather right for tomorrow. So they throw in a couple of other places that don't matter. So, you know, I guess people like being outraged about what's going on in the federal with a president that's not even in office than they are about their own day-to-day activities in local government.
Oh, how much better it would be if they were interested in their local government.
Right. All government is local, and what happens locally affects you nationally. That, I think they've got it backwards. They think what the president does affects them. But the country has such a big problem with race and issues around race that you know, and Donald Trump is the personification of all racial things. So therefore, there's this hypersensitivity to Trump. They think, you know, let Trump be Trump. People are people. They have likes, dislikes. Folks are prejudiced. Some are happy. Some are sad, glad. Let people be people and move on with your life.
When you're looking at television and commercials and stories now,
Mm-hmm.
you got the black husband and the white wife, or the black husband and Asian wife, or vice versa, and it's all mixed. And you would think that if it's like that on television, things are getting better, but I don't think so.
I think the people who don't like the way things are have a loud voice. That does not represent the silent majority. They represent themselves. So we have what I always refer to as the tyranny of the minority. The tyranny of the minority, and I don't mean minority in terms of people. I mean few in number. You know, the tyranny of the man. It's like having 100 people in an office we're going to send out for lunch, and there's one big bully in the room telling everybody what they're going to eat, and everyone else is just kind of, all right, well, if he's going to drive, so he says he gets to choose the lunch, so let him go. Maybe I'll just follow the lead. It's not that everyone wants to eat, soup for lunch. He wants to eat soup for lunch.
And so everyone eats soup for lunch.
So everyone eats
because
soup.
he has some kind of pull.
Right.
On everybody.
Right. Right.
Right. That kind of is my story, actually.
Mm.
It is kind of like that. My story is the Emperor's New Clothes.
The Emperor's
now you know
New Clothes.
So you know that story, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Emperor's New Clothes it's Hans Christian Andersen. He does personal stories like the Ugly Duckling. What means something to a person? And the Emperor's New Clothes is not a new story. I'll give you he wrote the story, but it's from a Spanish fairy tale from 1335. And actually, the ending of the story, and I'll tell you that after the ending of the story, he changed because of his own life. But actually, it happened. It was the king and 3 imposters, and it was and they were going to make him these beautiful clothes, but only his legitimate sons could see this.
Mm-hmm.
His illegitimate sons could not see the clothing.
Mm.
And there is no real ending to the story.
Mm-hmm.
Like the little child who said the emperor has no clothes. This story really doesn't have an ending, except that the emperor just holds his head up a little higher, and they pretend they're holding his train, and he keeps on walking and says, well, I gotta get through this, so I will get through it in as much dignity as I can.
Mm-hmm.
And goes through it while everybody else goes crazy. But let me just can I tell a story?
Yes.
I'm gonna tell a story. Many years ago, there was an emperor, and all he loved, didn't care about the politics, he didn't care about the people, he cared about clothes. He loved clothes. And he had so many clothes, he changed every hour. He loved clothes so much. So there were these 2 imposters who said, went to the king and said, we could make you the most beautiful clothes. And the only people who could see it are the smart people and people who really were dedicated to you. Now, the stupid people and the people who did not deserve their office, they will not be able to see this. Oh, the king said, oh, that's wonderful. Then I'll know just who's smart and just who's loyal and who's stupid, and I'll just pick my own counselors and prime ministers. I'll pick my own. This is wonderful. So the imposters, they asked for a lot of money, so much money, and the king paid it and gave them gold threads and beautiful materials. And they went up into this room and they started to spin these beautiful clothes. Of course, there was nothing on the spindle. There was nothing there. But they pretended that they were spinning and sewing, and they put up the needles in the air. And after a few weeks, the king said, I better see what's going on and see how far they've gotten with these beautiful clothes that they are making for me. So he sent his smartest prime minister, and one that he had a lot of faith in, to go see how it was coming along. Well, he went up there and he looked into this room and he didn't see anything. And he saw them working, and he blinked. He took off his glasses and he put back on his glasses, and he didn't see any clothes. And the imposter said, isn't this wonderful? Look at this beautiful, beautiful material. Look at this. Isn't it gorgeous? Isn't it magnificent? And the prime minister said, well, I know I'm not stupid. I know maybe I don't deserve my office. Well, I don't know what to do. So he went along with it and said, oh, yes, it is magnificent. It is wonderful. I have never seen such beautiful clothes. And so he goes back to the king and repeats all of this, repeats everything that the swindlers had told him. Oh, the king was so happy. The clothes were coming. He was going to have this magnificent wardrobe. And after a while, he sent another counselor that he really trusted. And the same thing happened. He looked and he blinked. And the imposter said, "Oh, isn't it wonderful? We need more money." And they got more money. And he's looking and he's looking and he doesn't see anything. And he says, "Oh my goodness, can I say that the prime minister saw the beautiful clothes? I did not. I don't see anything. What am I going to do? Am I stupid? Do I deserve my office?" And as soon as he says, "Look at this. Is it not magnificent?" He said, "It is indeed magnificent and wonderful." And so he goes and he tells the king how magnificent these clothes are. Oh, and the king gets even more excited. He can't wait. So this is going to be, he's going to march through the streets with his new garments on. And so he gets all the important people to come with him, all the counselors and prime ministers and all the important people that work for him and that work with him. He's bringing them all along. And then finally he goes up to see the magnificent clothes. And he walks into the room. And my goodness, he sees nothing and he looks around and he says, "Oh my goodness, am I not worthy to be king? Am I stupid? What is this?" And the swindlers are saying, talking about how magnificent and wonderful this is. And they told him, "Now, we need more material just to finish up, and more money to finish up this magnificent wardrobe." And so the king gives them more. And they hide everything they get. They hide all the material and the golden threads and the money. And they continue to sew and to look at these wonderful clothes. And the king says nothing. And the day comes when the swindlers go to the king's chamber to dress him for the debut of his wonderful clothing. And they undress him and they put on the garments. "Oh, it fits you just right." Oh, the king says, "It is wonderful. It is wonderful." And then we will put on his train. And they put on his train and it flows back. Long, beautiful train with the golden threads and the gorgeous materials. Oh, the king says, "It is marvelous." And the people come in. And they say, "Oh, it is marvelous, king. It is wonderful. What a wonderful, wonderful wardrobe. It is so beautiful. Magnificent, magnificent." But nobody sees a thing. They do not see clothes. They do not see anything. And then the march begins, and they say to the two carriers who's supposed to carry his train, "Pick up the train." And they look around and they gravel, and then finally they pick up the air and they stand erect and they start walking, and the king starts walking through the people, and all the people are around, and all the magnificent, all the dignitaries are around. Everybody's around, and the king has his head up and he is walking. He is so proud. He is so proud. And they hold his train and they walk through the streets. And there happened to be a little boy there. And the little boy is looking, and he squinches his eyes, and he looks. He says, "The king doesn't have any clothes on." And then father says, well, listen to my son's wisdom. And he's looking. And he says, the king doesn't have any clothes on. And then it says, the king doesn't have any clothes on. And it goes to the child. The king doesn't have any clothes on. My goodness, the king doesn't have. The king is walking through the streets with no clothes on. But the king holds up his head and says to himself, I must get through this. So he holds up his head even higher. And the people, the two men, they still hold his train, and he walks through the crowd. And the little boy and everybody said, oh my goodness, the king doesn't have any clothes on. That king doesn't have any clothes on. And that really is the end of the story. The king doesn't have any clothes on. Now you say to yourself, you know, we do it every day. Mm-hmm. We listen to somebody and we think it's true and everybody's agreeing with them, and you know it's not true. You know as well as you're sitting there it's not true, but you don't want to say it. So you just say, oh yeah, how many times have we done it? Oh yeah, I agree. I think that's good. Because nobody wants to be the one voice that cries in the wilderness, right? You know, that's almost biblical. Nobody wants to be the one that cries in the wilderness. What's that, Isaiah? What you talking about, John? Yeah. Mm-hmm. What is it? And what does it teach children? So I looked at you have to have faith in yourself. Mm-hmm. That's it. You know, that's one thing, and you have to be honest. And it went through all of these things that we should be, but being honest is not always glorious. Being honest is sometimes will get you in trouble. And that's what these older folks said, yeah. If I say that I don't see those clothes, I'm either stupid or I don't deserve this office. But you see how fast it flipped, don't you? When one voice, the one voice who's not intimidated, who doesn't know anything about all that crap that all those people are thinking about, he just sees that the king has no clothes on. And so he says it. Jesus says, you have to become like little children. You got to get all that junk out of your head and just tell the truth. The king does not have any clothes on, and that's just the way it is. So that's my story. There's a lot to that. There's a lot to that story. You can get a lot out of that story. I was reading, and I even got kind of excited about the story, you know. And I wanted to tell you about the story. The story ends with the king, you know, walking through the crowd. The king, they're still making his clothes and doing that stuff. It doesn't have a little boy in it. Mm-hmm. But Hans Christian Andersen comes from Denmark, I think. And his mother took him to see the king of Denmark, Francois VI or something like that. And he yelled out, he's just a man. He's just a man. So I guess he had heard all this hype about what he was going to see. But he said, but he's just a man. And so he always hated the bourgeoisie, the hierarchy, the how they acted and how they perceived themselves. He never liked that. So in this story, he put the little boy that yelled out, and actually the little boy was him many years before when he yelled out, he's just a man.
Just a man.
Yep. So there's a lot more to the story, and you could use it in a lot of ways. You know, you could say, you know, in certain situations, the king's new clothes. You know, you could say it shows you how easily and how quickly it could flip with just one voice. One voice just telling the truth.
Well, there has to be a voice of reason. Someone saying, you know, pointing out the obvious.
The very obvious.
And to bring people back to reality. There's, you know, we're going through a whole lot of different stations in our sojourn here as a society. There's so many competing interests and competing voices for dominance and supremacy on the world stage, both locally and, you know, nationally. You know, everyone wants to be relevant and wants their point of view to be the supreme point of view. And you know,
but how is that little guy that goes to work every day and just wants to support his family and is busy doing that and is listening to all of these point of views? How is he to know? He's gonna pick one that sort of resonates for him, whether he knows it's the truth or not.
Either that or tune out. I think a lot of people are just tuning out.
Right.
They're just dialing it down. They tune it out and go about their way. And I think that's more of what we're experiencing is people tuning out. And as they do, you just don't hear those voices.
Right.
And so, right. Before long, the only voice you hear is this one lone. I shouldn't use that because it messes up the analogy that you're making. You hear a squeaky voice. You actually, what you're hearing is you're hearing what no one else wants to listen to, because they're tuning out. And that voice is the one that now is setting the tone, because they've got control of the room. They have control of the narrative. They have control over, you know, what's being broadcast and what's being disseminated. And so that's one reason why I think that the more voices there are, the better. But it requires people to listen. You have to listen to what other people are saying.
It is hard for me to listen to the news. Because there's so much in the news. They're saying so many different things, depending on what station or what channel you're listening to. The radio is saying so many different things that if you are not really engaged in your community and this is all, what are you to think? What are you to think with all of these? It's not like listening to Walter Cronkite, you know, or Huntley and Brinkley. It's not like that. It's you listen to them and they gave you information. They didn't give you conclusions, and they didn't give you opinions.
Right.
They didn't give you opinions. They gave you the facts. And then you had to gather whatever you needed to gather to make a decision.
Right.
These are the facts. It's not like, and they were trusted. What can you do? The news is Hollywood.
Well, you know,
it's Hollywood with attractive people and all that stuff. It's not, It's not the news. It's not real. It's.
Well, it winds up being propaganda because it's not useful information that you can take and make sound decisions that are going to ultimately affect your life, your family's life, for what you and your family believe is better for you. I mean, everyone navigates their walk in a way that what is going to be best for me in my life, my decisions that are going to affect me. So what kind of job should I have? Well, I don't like to do this. I don't like electricity. I don't want to, but I like water, and I like, designing ways to deliver water. Maybe I'd be a plumber. Somebody wants to be a doctor. Thank God there are people who want to do everything from, cleaning sewer systems to, cleaning airplanes. There are people who do everything. Brain surgery, heart surgery, cook food. The heart surgeon needs to eat. He needs to go shop, and someone has to go someone has to grow the food, harvest the food, deliver the food, inspect the food. There's someone that does everything. And so people find a station in life that suits them. So as a doctor, the things in the news that are important to you are going to be a little bit different than the things that are important to the guy who's a farmer. He's interested in the price of diesel. He's interested in the health of the soil, rain and precipitation, water law if he's out west. The doctor's not concerned about that. He might be concerned about the quality of his fish at the best supermarket because he lives in a very wealthy community. And so, it's not like you should be against him because he likes it. Lives in a wealthy community, and somehow the farmer is disparaged because he's not in as wealthy a community. But everybody, it's a society. Everyone has a role and makes contributions. But if you don't get information that you can use, then it's just a bunch of propaganda. So they're telling you, they're trying to steer you into doing things. This is just Stan's observation. So the news just becomes a vehicle to tell you what to think and how to think, but doesn't just present you with all the information so that you can choose what's best for you, not how to think or what to think.
They're going to choose it.
They're going to choose it.
They're going to choose it. And if you don't, and if you just accept it, that's the end of it. If you just accept it, that's just the end of it. If it doesn't fit you, If it doesn't fit you, it's not that they're wrong. It's just there's something wrong with you.
Right.
If it doesn't fit the way you're made, there's something wrong with you. So then you have to change yourself into whatever they say is the right thing. It's just like that. It's just like, it's not as much as it used to be. It's just like the college thing. Everybody had to go to college at one time. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't go to college, you don't get anything. So you didn't go to college. You only went to, high school. Blah, 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 blah.
How are you going to advance in life?
Yes.
What will you become?
That's right.
I could become a whole lot of things.
But that's right, a whole lot of things. And to say you go to college doesn't mean you're going to be anything.
Right. You don't need a college degree to drive a bus. However, let the bus drivers go on strike. Suddenly they become worth everything, particularly in a town like New York or any other major metropolitan area where most of the people get around through transportation on bus. Let the truck drivers go on strike. Already right now we have a supply chain issue. We don't have enough truck drivers. The trucks can't deliver stuff, and so there's a shortage on everything in the stores. prices are skyrocketing because you can't. The supply is dropping, the demand is rising, so the prices are going up. And suddenly, the guy without a college education who's driving the truck. That's not to say that there aren't truck drivers with college educations, but it's not a necessity in order to drive a truck. But truck driving is an essential.
That's right.
Process of our society. Everyone has value, and all these external comparison traps. But you were saying something that brought to my mind. They're trying to conform you into an image that they approve of.
Yes.
You know, which is in to me winds up being, these people think of themselves as being divine. I'm going to shape you into my image, and if you're not shaped into my image, then you have no purpose in life.
Right.
Cancel you out.
Let 1 week go by where they don't pick up the trash.
Right.
Oh, that would be a horrible, horrible thing. I can't even imagine how horrible that would be if they didn't pick up the trash.
Could you imagine if the guy that does the porta potties refused to surface the porta potties that were in Bushnell Park for the jazz festival?
Oh my goodness.
We need someone to come and get the porta potties. I ain't doing that no more. Bump y'all.
Don't look down your nose at anybody.
Right.
Or any job, because whatever, it's a necessity. In some way, it's a necessity. It wouldn't be there.
Right.
It wouldn't be there.
Everyone is essential. From the governor all the way down to the guy that cleans the porta potties.
Yep.
That are delivered to your little local town festivals, so that you could go to the park, eat a hot dog, drink a beer, and be able to handle your business because you're in the middle of the park.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. And your mind says, "Oh, I'm not never use a porta potty." Oh, really? Well,
I don't like.
You give it a couple hours, you'll be using that porta potty. You'll be glad for the thing. Right?
Yes, you will. Absolutely. Because I hate porta potties. I hate going in them. But if it's necessary, that's where you go.
Yeah. That's right. Driving on the highway, long road, and then long stretch. There's suddenly you wish there was a porta potty right on the road. Just oh my God, there's a porta potty. So. Yeah.
Yeah.
So everyone is essential, and we get into these external comparison traps, and inevitably, when people go down that road, they always compare the very best with the worst. So they make sure the disparity is at extreme ends, for the comparison.
Yes.
And now you create a crisis of difference, as opposed to appreciating the uniqueness. Because very rarely does this person want to become this person and this person become this person. Because there's nothing that stops this guy down here from going to school for 20 years to become a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's going to take. It doesn't take a long time. You can't just go into the operating room and start working on people's brain.
Right.
But the brain surgeon needs this guy down here. Because he's good at one thing. Brain surgery. Other than that, what else can he do? That's what he does. He's not good at a whole lot of things.
But we bow down to someone like a brain surgeon. Not as much as we used to.
Right. Well, that kind of back to your emperor has no clothes. We do that. On Wednesday program, we were talking about the brother Luis Delgado, who is one of the talk champions on Wednesday. Luis Delgado and Dr. Maya Bowen. And Luis made the comment that companies, entities, when individuals, whether they're companies, nonprofits, doesn't matter, move into our community, they need to be respectful of us. They need to be respectful of the people in those communities and be sensitive to them. And my pushback was, no, the people in those communities need to demand that the folk that come in are sensitive. It's on the community to make those demands, not on the people coming in to somehow act a certain way. Because, to me, a community is self-sustaining, self-educating, and self-policing. And so I use as an analogy the welcome wagon. The little group that comes around to your house when you move into the community. Mm-hmm. Remember those?
I remember
those used to be it was a standard part of everyday life. And it was in all communities. If someone moved into the community, you don't know them.
You welcome them to the community.
You welcome them to the community. Go over, knock on the door, take a little can of cookies, a little bag of coffee or tea, and your expectation is they're going to treat you as a welcome guest in their house. If they don't, then there's something, they don't seem to community folk. This is how you had community.
Knock on someone's door today and
see what happens. Right. What do you want? Why you knocking on my door, man? I just came by to say hi. You need to mind your business. Don't knock on my door again. That's because we don't have a community anymore.
No, we don't have a community.
We don't have a community.
No.
So, since we don't trust our neighbor, we hire police to make sure that our neighbor acts right. So, the more you lose control of your community, the more you need outsiders to control it. And then once you go down that road, it's a wrap.
Those outsiders are not going to want to let go of their power.
Absolutely not.
After a while, when we decide we want that power back, they're not going to get it back easily. We're going to have to fight for it.
You have to fight for it.
That's right. And that's the kind of situation we're in right now.
Absolutely.
Right now.
Absolutely.
We're fighting for our control, and they're fighting back.
Right.
They should have never had the control in the first place.
Right.
So
there is a tug of war for supremacy and control and power. And power doesn't say, okay, here you go, have it. You have to take it. And when you take it, you also have to be mindful of those who you're taking it from. So, running stuff and being in charge of things is not as easy as people think.
Oh,
you gotta govern and run the thing. You want to be in charge, but you get there, you don't know what the heck you're doing.
Every job that I had, I wanted to be the supervisor. Because I always thought
I won't be in charge.
I want to do it. I can do a better job. And many times I could have done a better job, but I can do a better job. I always wanted to supervise this job, and I used to read about being a supervisor and reading about being a leader and read about all of this. And when I finally got it, it wasn't as easy as I thought, because guess what? Everybody wasn't like me. So it was a little harder than I thought. I got used to it, but it was a little harder. And then you realize that whatever you create in that little vacuum that you're in is going to be like you. So you better be careful of what you control, what you create. You could create a lot of stuff that's negative.
Yeah. Or as they say, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, be careful of what you wish for.
Because all that glitters is not gold. All that glitters is not gold. And, to whom much is given, much is required.
Yes.
Much is required. So, there are a lot of things that people would like to see change. I think I think, of course, words mean things, and the value of what we say, and what we say is not often, what we say isn't always what we really mean. Our expression oftentimes is not an accurate picture of what the heart is thinking. And so what a lot of people, what it's been my observation that what a lot of people really mean is that they would like to take advantage of the benefits that come from the change. They're not at all interested in being
part of
the change or doing anything to bring about the change. They would like the benefits of the change, but they don't do any work.
That's like going on strike, getting all that you said, and all those people who didn't have anything to do with the strike never had, and go in there and get the same benefits that you get,
Mm-hmm.
and you did all the fighting. But that's the way it always is.
Yeah.
That's the way it always is. There are those who will fight for everybody else, and those who will just kind of stand back and say, I'm not going to take a chance on that. I'm not going to lose this, and I'm not going to lose that.
Mm-hmm.
And they just stand back. And then the day comes, the contract is signed, they got most of what they wanted, and in comes everybody.
My wife and I were coming back from Lily's. We're going to change our date from Friday to Thursday, I think, because Thursdays have meatloaf. I think Lily's has the best meatloaf.
Well, I have to try Lily's again.
Yeah, try it again. You guys but of course the meatloaf is so good it goes quickly. So I have to change my arrival time at Lily's. So I had to go earlier because it run out of meatloaf so quickly. But on our way back, we were having a discussion, and we were talking about diversity of ideas, diversity of thought, and silos. People live in silos. We have these silos. So everyone in the silo agrees with each other.
Oh.
And so people want you to agree with them. They want you to agree with them. So they wind up having conversations in a silo where everyone in the silo agrees. You don't never have to really have a conversation because everyone is in agreement and everybody likes the fact that people are in agreement. Now,
so a silo means everybody is in agreement?
Yeah, like a grain silo.
Oh,
yeah,
all
yeah.
The grains are the same. Okay.
Yeah, And so everyone's in the same. So we have the education silo. You have the police silo. You have the health silo. You have all these little silos or interests, and everyone having the discussion, they all agree with one another. All right. And you really want conversation with people outside the silo, with folk who don't agree with you, because that's where you really have the issue. The issue is not with people who agree. The issue is with people who you don't agree with. So she said, so really what you have in the silo is a choir. Everyone's singing in perfect harmony. It might be 3-part, 12-part. They're singing in perfect harmony because everyone is in agreement. So really what you're looking for is noise, disagreement. Everyone's singing different songs. And we got to come to consensus on something that we all like. And I think too much of our conversations are trying to make other people agree with us instead of listening to what other people are saying so that we can embrace the uniqueness of what they're saying. Determine, do we tolerate or do I remove myself from them? And where can we find consensus where we can agree on things that we have in common?
How do you learn that? How do you learn that? How do you learn to listen? How do you learn to agree to disagree? when all around you is the opposite. So how do you learn it in school? Do you learn it from your parents? Who do you learn it from? Who do young people learn this from?
I think that's the job of the question answers the question of elders.
Of the elders.
To demonstrate to young people these things. But if you have older people acting selfish and being very childish, because kids are by nature selfish. That's all they know is themselves and what they want. They want a cookie. They don't say, well, I can't have a cookie.
Like,
so, you know.
Like a like a 70-year-old saying, I want that cookie. I said, well, I can't get you the cookie right now. But I want it now. I want it right now. You know? I said, well, I can't get you it. You have to go sit down and I have to do this. No, I don't have to wait. I don't have to wait. I want to do it now. Now, that's a 70-year-old. So,
well, we're all kids. 70-year-olds are just older kids that can get away with stuff.
So are you saying there's got to be a mommy that's saying you better sit your...
You need absolute, yes. There need to be limitations. There have to be limits. There's limits in everything. There's limits in households. There's limits in groups. There's limits in silos. There's limits everywhere. There are certain places that you can and can't go. Whether you're talking about a organized criminal ring, a gang, a do good for others group, there are rules and limitations. There has to be. Otherwise, you have chaos. So there has to be some sort of order. If you take those breaks off, if you remove the order from society, it seems to me that you get chaos. So if adults in positions where diplomacy is the job don't act like diplomats and they act more like spoiled brats, that's the message that gets trickled down to everyone else. Your electeds are supposed to be diplomats. They represent the people. But you can't really represent anybody if you don't listen to them.
Or know them.
Or if you don't know them, the only way you can know them is to listen.
So how do our elected officials know who we are and know how we think? Is it their job? Is it their people who are around them to inform them? How do they know? They say, well, if the people don't come to us, we don't know. If the people don't talk to us and call us, we don't know. But it's also their job to find out who the people are. Why did you want to be elected if you didn't even know who the people were? You don't even know who they are, what they think, how they feel. You don't know anything.
Well, people get elected because they are, of course.
Somebody pays some money.
Well, they're in position to be elected first and foremost. But the people elect them. The people elect them. I had this week, what was it? Tuesday. Myself, accesstv.org, Inquiring News, the Northern Agents, and the Narrative Project, Black Press, Black Media. Mm-hmm. We had lunch with the governor at his invitation.
This week?
This week.
Mm-hmm. And
it was very interesting. And he tweeted, I guess he tweeted, but he posted in he posted in Facebook several pictures. And he was very surprised at our comments. And he said something that really got my attention. He says, I thought I was doing a better job, but apparently I have a lot of things that I need to do and adjust. Cause he didn't know. I told him, and Reggie told him the same thing, and the others expressed the same thing. We have options. I told him just like this. I says, the orange man may not be the best thing, but we have options. I said, don't think that we're a monolith and by default we all think the same, because we don't. And people are right on the edge as it pertains to who they should vote for. And Reggie told him the same thing. And so if we don't tell folk in position of leadership where we are and what we want, they're not going to know. And you can't go there and say that the king has clothes. And that's what we like to do. Well, we with you instead of being honest. Because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings. Or I want the governor to be mad at me. Well, you're not there for him to be mad at you. You're there to represent your community.
I forgot what I was going to say. I forgot what I was going to say. It'll come back.
Mm-hmm. So we were there. This is.
So you think, or you feel the governor thought that all black people kind of thought alike?
I don't think that he thought necessarily that all black people think alike. I think that he thought that everything is cool with black people. The Democrats have a tendency to count the black vote as it's in the back pocket. We ain't even worry about that. It's there.
Oh, so we need to wake them up.
And Republicans have the tendency to think, well,
we
didn't get the black votes. We didn't worry about them. And I said this on this program. We reached out to Stefanowski on several occasions. Jonathan has reached out to Stefanowski on several occasions. Even on Monday's program, he said even a week ago, crickets. And he was told that they weren't, not ready to come on at this particular time. This was some time ago.
So what are you thinking that Stefanowski's feeling, or his staff is feeling? Why they're not?
It could be that we're not big enough to matter, or we're not going to get the black vote anyway. But we mattered enough that the governor invited us to come and sit so he could hear from us. You see what I'm saying? So there are only a few black press in Connecticut. None of us are like CBS. we're not big. We're not Telemundo. We're not Univision. There is no real black press. There's no black mega press, is what I mean to say. All right. Now, Univision is not necessarily owned by voices that are Spanish speaking, nor is Telemundo really. They're really Spanish speaking arms of a larger entity. But the black press is all black owned.
for now.
Well, unless someone decide to come and buy out the North End agents, or Inquiring News or AccessTV.org. I'm not saying that we might not consider selling for $7 or $8 million. It might make a difference, but that's not likely to happen. No one's going to drop by our offices and cut us a check for $7 or $8 million and we'll move out of here and not see nobody anymore. So we're just not. But my point is that the black press is owned by black people and thus represents truly the interests of black people. And all of us are, we're kind of like survivors, if you will, because we do a whole lot with nothing. It's, we're not, if we were doing, if all of us, we survive, but if we were doing this to get rich,
you wouldn't.
We wouldn't. This is a love. We love the community. So all of us do what we do because of that. Whether it's radio, like online television, we don't really have black TV.
No.
There is no black television. And the radio, K&D, is quasi. It's not really black owned. It was, but it isn't anymore.
And there was a black TV station, which is not, well, it's still there, but.
What, BET?
Yeah.
Well, BET is absolutely not black.
It's nothing.
Right.
It's nothing. I don't even.
Yeah. Now in Chicago, there's like Media One, but there's no. I think that's black owned, out of Chicago. But in Connecticut, it's few and far between. There are some voices down in New Haven, too. But all of the black press was invited to this throughout the state. All of the black press. We're the only ones that came.
In the greater Hartford area?
No.
Who came?
We just so happen to be from the great. That's not true. This young lady here, she's from New Haven. The Narrative Project. She's down in the New Haven area. But
Bridgeport there?
There was no one there from Bridgeport. No. Mm-mm. So the Allens were there. Mm-hmm. John Allen's daughters were there. Reggie Hales from the North End Agent and myself. But he was, I think he absolutely heard from us. But I thought it was interesting because I was tagged, obviously, in this. But the comment that was made by the governor was, Connecticut's black press, so you can see it for yourself, Connecticut's black-owned media outlets are vital to our state. Though they are armed with talented writers, these organizations do more than deliver breaking news. They are advocates, organizers, and storytellers, leaders committed to making sure their communities are heard. If Connecticut's going to move forward, we need to be sure these folks are part of the action with a seat at the table. Thank you to the North End Agents newspaper, Inquiring News, the Narrative Project, and AccessTV.org for attending. And that was from Governor Lamont, and he posted that to his Facebook page. I don't know if they did the same for Twitter or any of those other things, but I only know because I'm on Facebook, so I got the tag. But I thought that was interesting because he didn't hear, the room was not filled with sycophants telling him how great he was. It was a very interesting conversation. But he listened. And so, to your point, our leaders need to stand up for what the community needs, not what their personal needs are, not what they think that they would like to see, but what the community wants. And I told them, there's black folk out there. I know some black folk organizations I'm involved with, just straight out the box to tell you they like Trump. You need to know that. And they believe they have options, Mr. Governor. And so people may not talk this out loud. Mm-hmm. Silence doesn't always mean folk agree. Sometimes silence means that they don't agree. Don't misinterpret silence for we're with you. And if you don't tell people in leadership these things, then they don't know. They don't know. And it's difficult for people that are in leadership, whether it's a mayor or a governor, most certainly the president, or even if it's in the corporate level or on the nonprofit level. It's very easy for them to become isolated from the day-to-day chatter, because people have a tendency to be in their presence and say nice things, glowing things. Oh, everything is all right. Or the staff is keeping information away from them, so they don't necessarily hear. How things going? Great. When it really isn't. And so the leader doesn't know. So it's very important that folks that represent us really, really do speak up.
And do we have leaders that speak up?
I can't speak to that because I'm not in the rooms where they speak.
Does it feel like our leaders speak up for us?
I don't know. I have to honestly say that I don't know. I would like to hope that they're speaking up for us. But in many situations, I think the leadership, and I can only speak for the greater Hartford area, specifically Hartford. Mm-hmm. I get the impression many times that our leaders are nothing more than gatekeepers.
And not the what?
Nothing more than gatekeepers. They are minding the flock.
Not representing.
Not representing the flock.
Well, that's a good way to put it. That's how a lot of people feel.
Right. They're not selling the flock off to be eaten. The sheep. The shepherd is selling off the sheep to be eaten and fleecing the sheep, taking their wool, using them. And then one goes astray and they let them stay lost.
Yep. I think that's about how I feel.
Okay.
That's about how I feel. I feel bad that I feel that way because it was years where I never felt that way. Mm-hmm. That I had a lot of respect for our representatives.
Well, I think it's incumbent upon, once again, the community to be in that place where it is holding their leaders accountable. Leadership has to be held accountable by the people. Everyone has to do their job. Everyone has to be part of what happens. So that's all we can do, I guess, is ask.
Yeah.
And hold people accountable. We have a mutual friend that you alluded to earlier that called you.
Oh, yes.
And I was at a meeting. And you talk about someone in the community holding people feet to the fire?
Absolutely, huh?
Blew my mind. I couldn't believe it.
She did it.
Gold Star of the Week. I was speechless. I don't know what she told you, what she did, but
No, she didn't tell me.
Morning Talk, we'll be right back. Stick and stay.
Hi, my name is Marisha Garcia. I am from Brazil. I help HPU. I help families de Universidade de Harvard Community. Estou muito feliz em participar. É muito importante o engajamento deles padres e madres nas escolas de Hartford com seus ninhos, my children. I love helping family e HPU. Thank you. Gracias. Obrigado.
Every bad political decision is made by a politician elected to office. So if you think your vote doesn't matter, just remember this. There are people sitting with politicians in a back room making deals about your future, making policies about your children, making decisions about your neighborhood. To them, you are just a vote. You are not their charity. You are not their cause. You are just a vote. Elections have consequences, and if you don't vote, you are actually voting to keep these people in power to work against you. Now, more than ever, you need to make your vote count. Declare your independence from the plantation of party politics and free your political mind.
All right, my friends, welcome back. It's Morning Talk with JC and McCauley. And Champions of Talk. Today's Talk champion, of course, is none other than Cleo Duke-Wright in the house. So, finish up our conversation for this morning. Hey, you know, you guys, we got a big election coming up in November. So, make sure you go out and you vote. Vote your conscience first and foremost, and then vote, as they say, what's in the best interest of you and your community. All right, and that's all you can do. You get one vote. Everybody gets one vote. If they don't vote, then you don't get to say. You don't have a say. You have no say at all. But more than anything, speak up. Speak up. If folk are as zealous and concerned about what goes on in their local communities, like whatever town you live in and whatever state you live in, that's where you really have a voice. But only if you use it. Only if you use it. Only if you use it. So, use it.
Use it or lose it.
Pull your mic up there, Miss Cleo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, any plans for the weekend?
Oh, no. Just to do a little work. I'm so busy. I can't get a schedule together. I'm trying to get a schedule and an outline of everything that's going to happen and put everybody in my little slots. So there'll be some time for me because that's very necessary. And I'm having a really hard time in doing that because I run to different things and I'm running up and down the stairs all the time and I'm doing all of these things. I do have to say that the community has, the people around me that are outside have helped me do a few things that it's been, hard to do, but I'm doing it. I'm doing it. So whatever comes up, I got to deal with. So that's how it is now. So that's how my week is probably gonna go. And tomorrow I go to work. I usually don't start until August, end of August. But on Saturdays, I probably will be doing a few hours.
Oh, okay.
So that's just something else that's coming in. So, however it does, got to keep my storytelling going. You know what I discovered?
What's that?
Well, I haven't discovered it now. You all know it. Talk is cheap. So when you sit down sometimes and you say you said you're gonna do this, that, and then you haven't done a thing. You just full of talk and no action. So I'm trying to get more action in there.
Well, that's good. You get in touch with your executive branch side.
Yes.
The legislative branch side.
Yeah.
Coming up with all these great ideas and then they don't go up. We don't send it up to the executive branch side to
that's
actually do something with it.
Trying to do.
All right. Well, it should be a nice weekend. I think it's going to be hot.
Very. When is this heat wave going to stop? When is it going to end?
I don't know.
I know this weekend's going to be hot. Next week going to be the same. All of next week is. I hope not. I
don't know. I know every summer it does get hot. They act like it doesn't get hot in the summer. It's like, oh my, it's the heat. But I mean, it was oppressive out there yesterday.
Oh yes. And when you think you don't have any strength, you say, why don't I have any energy? Why? Well, this heat, every time you move, it's like, oh my gosh, I can't go any further. And, please keep drinking your water.
Drink water.
Drink a lot of water.
Stay hydrated. Right. And if you drink coffee, drink water. Because coffee, they say coffee dehydrates you.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
So you want to drink some water along with your coffee.
Tea also does that?
I don't think tea does.
Oh, just coffee. Okay.
I think just coffee. I don't know. They say, they say lots of things.
They certainly
Right.
do. I have to find a really good story for next week
Okay.
about this has something to do with all of us.
All right. Well, very good. Dr. Bowen said weapons of mass distraction are in play. No doubt
Mass
about that.
distraction.
Mass distraction.
You are absolutely right, Dr. Bowen.
That's what's going on down in Washington.
Yes.
A weapon, they're launching a bomb, a mass distraction bomb.
Absolutely.
All right, my friends, our time together has come to an end. The same thing happens every time we're here on the air. We'll see you next time. Join us, okay? And we'll talk to you then. If you're around this evening at 10, you could join me for Bible study. So that should be fun. Hebrews chapter 3. All right? Yeah, Hebrews chapter 3. Yeah. All right, till next time. Bye-bye.